Sheldon drove the dark streets of Atlanta like he had countless Saturdays before, taking passengers to work and home and restaurants, keeping them at a polite and safe distance, just like everyone else in his life. It's hard to be vulnerable when you've been abused. It's hard to trust people when it was at the hands of someone you trusted. It's hard to let people in when the walls you've built make you feel safe. Frenae's first year in D.C. was darkness. Depression had knocked on her door and let itself in. She was desperate to know that life could be good, that hope wasn't just a word cross-stitched on a pillow, that breaths could come without pain. She struggled to move through each day. The digits in her bank account slowly ticked down, and she found herself in a dangerous tailspin. Melissa had never known what family was, and now longed for one of her own. But she was afraid that she had waited too long. Even so, she and her husband Brett tried. She shouldered the heavy burden of the word the doctors gave her: infertility. Melissa spent a year feeling like a lab rat, tested and poked. They told her that there probably wasn't any hope. But she and Brett pressed on, through rounds of IVF and a growing mountain of medical debt. They had one last opportunity to witness a miracle. One more treatment with one more enormous bill to pay. One final chance to have a child. When Mansa applied for her visa to come to the US from India, she prayed she would get rejected. She knew Jesus, knew the joy of singing and dancing in his presence, knew the safety of church community, but she also knew what she wanted: to stay where she was. But soon, home was leaving through the windows of an airplane, and when her feet touched the ground in Atlanta, she was, for the first time in her life, alone. 5 days later, desperate, Mansa Googled churches near me and took a chance. As she walked into a gathering at Passion City Church, the lyrics of a familiar chorus echoed in her heart, and she realized the band who was playing was the same band she'd been listening to for years. The words that she was singing were the same ones she'd been rejoicing in growing up. The God she was worshiping had made a way for her to feel at home. That God was her home, and his people were surrounding her. She wept where she was standing. Melissa is a person of prayer. Her church is a place of prayer, and her community group had come prepared. On a Zoom call in September, she got the news that the people closest to her had raised thousands of dollars to pay for one final round of IVF. But as soon as she went into the doctor's office, praying for a miracle, she found out that one had already happened. Defying all odds and baffling the doctors, Melissa was pregnant. She carried little Lennon gratefully and delivered her safely. And now she tells everyone that when her body wouldn't cooperate, and when the doctors couldn't help, and when all the money had dried up, God was just getting started. Even when Frenae couldn't see through the fog of depression, she would listen to podcasts from a church planner coming to D.C. And as soon as they started meeting, she made Passion City Church her home. She found people who loved her sacrificially. They showered her with small kindnesses: a tank of gas, a trip to the grocery store, tickets to a baseball game. But they gave her more than that. They gave her company on bike rides and living rooms to cry in and standing invitations to dinner parties. And soon, Frenae saw light breaking through the darkness and learned how to move forward with community and hope. One Saturday, Sheldon struck up a conversation with the next rider who got in his car. Sheldon learned he played bass in a band on Sundays and was invited to come see. At Passion City Church, Sheldon encountered a God he could trust, a good father who loved him fully and completely. And 1 week later, Jesus took Sheldon from death to life. When he took that step of faith, Sheldon received another invitation to a family group. This group welcomed Sheldon with open arms, and the walls around his heart began to crack. He learned vulnerability, experienced healing, and found the community he'd craved for 23 years. We do not belong to the dark because our King has conquered it. We belong to Him, the light of the world, so we will be light. Our Creator has given to us abundantly, so we will give abundantly. Sheldon found a father to trust in and a family to belong to. So as a part of a young adult family group, he points people to Jesus and helps them feel comfortable letting somebody in. We will invite strangers into this house because God has adopted us into His family. Fernee's tangible needs were provided for and her heart found a home. Now she gives generously to people around her and loves extravagantly as she does. We will see the needs around us and fill them from the overflow of what we've received. Melissa and Brett's friends rallied around them, supporting them personally and financially as God worked a miracle. So Melissa seeks out women who wait and hope, pointing them to the Father and showing them they're not alone. We will love people sacrificially and come together to play a part in miracles. Mansa found joy in a song while in India and found home through that same song in Atlanta. And now she serves as a door holder, helping get music and books and Bibles to people she'll never know. So we will continue sending resources, trusting that the Spirit of God will work where we can. We will be a people who invite and give and rally and send. We'll paint these cities with light, flood the streets with it, take it to every corner where darkness hides, and shine the hope of Jesus so that everybody knows our God is good. We are people of light and hope and rescue and peace and truth and home and promise and feasts, and we are for God and for people and for Atlanta and D.C. and for this world. And we will give above what we normally give so we can go beyond where we normally go. We are people of the light.